Hey guys, so this is our products live series talking about all the science behind the products and how they work in our bodies. So last week I did ProBio 5 and Vital Biome, and Mary talked about BioCleanse. So today I'm going to go over Slim, our pink drink, but I'm going to be focusing on blood sugar metabolism, so glucose metabolism, as well as prebiotics and how they affect our gut health, because those are the two shining stars of what Slim does for our bodies. So I'm going to do a whole little thing here and then talk about the specific ingredients in Slim that help with these things. So, hi Caitlin. So blood sugar metabolism. I'm going to give you a little overview. I spent, the entire day, not the entire day, but I did a lot of research. It's been really fun. I'm not even going to lie. So I might give you a little bit of extras in here too, but I have my notes to look down on too. So, blood sugar metabolism. When I talk about blood sugar, that means glucose, okay? Like our blood, the sugars in our blood. So when I talk about eating sugars or just eating in general, our body converts simple carbohydrates and simple sugars into glucose. So just so there's no confusion on like sugar and blood sugar, glucose, I use those interchangeably. Most of the medical community does. Hey, Kelly. So our body really likes glucose. So it takes all simple sugars that we digest, which it can only digest simple sugars in the gut, by the way. Glucose, galactose, and fructose. And our body really likes glucose, so it will convert galactose and fructose into glucose because our brain needs glucose to make energy, okay? Like you've heard it from the time you're a kid. It's a book I read to my daughter. We eat food to make energy. Yes, we get nutrients as well. That helps our body function. That's a totally different topic. But essentially, this is the basis of life. We eat food to give us sugars, which we turn into energy. So our brain needs glucose, and our skeletal as well as cardiac muscles prefer glucose as well, but they will also use fatty acids. I might touch on that a little bit later, but just so you know, like most of our body systems, brain, heart, muscles prefer glucose to function. So what is blood sugar exactly? You might kind of know like, oh, my blood sugar is low, I feel icky, or, oh my gosh, I have a sugar rush, I just ate all this stuff, and you kind of may understand it, but I'm going to give you the lowdown, okay? So our liver is what regulates blood sugar. So it's like a thermostat for our bodies to create and maintain homeostasis. You remember that from your high school biology. To create homeostasis is a thermostat for blood sugar. So when you eat and your blood sugar is high, your liver will release, your liver stores it. I read the wrong line. So when you eat and your blood sugar is high, your liver will store glucose. It makes it into a different form, but that's not necessarily important. In your liver, I'm like pointing to my liver right here, like that's really important. And then when your blood sugar is lower, hours after you've eaten, it slowly releases glucose into your bloodstream so that you don't stay so you don't get hungry. It helps maintain blood sugar homeostasis. That's essentially how it works, you guys. And then our pancreas, I should have written my notes more organizedly. Okay, so sorry. When our blood sugar is low, the liver can also make glucose, by the way, from amino acids, so that's protein, and fats, as well as lactic acid, which is like the acid that is released when we are exercising and active. So that's just a really cool fun fact that I'm adding in here. So when your blood sugars are low and you're, hungry, what's really cool is the liver can create glucose from protein, which is also, another macronutrient, and fat, which is another macronutrient. As well as if you exercise, it can literally like lower your cravings and make you less hungry because your body can create energy from this lactic acid that you just spend all your energy, using and making while you exercise. So I just thought that was a really fun fact. That was super cool. But anyway, so your pancreas, as you're fully aware, it also releases digestive enzymes and everything. But in regards to blood sugar, the islets on it create insulin. You guys all know insulin, right? So it creates an insulin to help. Why didn't I write this down? I knew my pregnancy brain wouldn't work. But it basically converts or makes sure that the sugar in your blood, that glucose, is traveled to the cells and used as energy. So that's what the insulin does, by the way. So when you're hearing about like insulin dependence or resistance and things like that, basically it's meaning that the glucose that you're eating that's in your blood isn't getting carried to the cells to make enough energy for you. So that's essentially so that you understand what's going on there. What I also think is really cool, talking about carbohydrate metabolism, because I think that that goes hand in hand. That's actually controlled by the nervous system and your hormones, and it's mediated by the hypothalamus in the brain. So after you have low blood sugar for a few hours, your body actually releases like a sympathetic arousal of your adrenal glands. So it releases adrenaline and noradrenaline. And these hormones will activate the liver to release glucose, okay? So it's like, oh, my body's hungry, and you know, it will your nervous system tells your adrenal glands to release adrenaline to make your liver, hey Sierra, hey Taylor, make more glucose for your body because you're hungry, right? And then these hormones tell it to do that, and it also not only tells the liver to make more glucose, but it also tells these adipose tissues, fat tissues, to break down stored fat into usable fatty acids for energy, which is what your heart and skeletal muscles can also use. And it also activates your hunger centers. So that's why if you don't eat, like, it will use your fat for energy theoretically. I'm not saying don't eat, because then that will lower your metabolism, throw off everything, your body goes into starvation mode. But it is really cool to understand that. So when you curb your cravings naturally through blood sugar metabolism as well as carbohydrate metabolism, when your body says, oh, wow, okay, I need more sugars in my body, it will actually use your fat cells to use as fatty acid for energy for not for your brain. You still need glucose for your brain. You still have to eat, but for your cardiac and your skeletal muscles. So a little fun fact. But that's why blood sugar is so directly related to our hormones, which is something I'm going to talk about. It's related to adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol, as well as growth hormones. And then I'm going to get into how it's related to estrogen and testosterone and progesterone. So like all of those fun, like when you think about hormones, those types of hormones too. So blood sugars in our body can affect a lot of different systems because of everything that I just went over, and there's a lot more science to it as well. But it can affect our sleep. So you hear about all these amazing benefits with Slim. Here's a lot of the science behind it. So it can affect our sleep because poor blood sugar levels, like if you have diabetes or even hypoglycemia, it leads to poor sleep. And it's like a vicious cycle. So there's a lot of studies on this. There's a lot of relation. They're not 100% sure like how it affects our sleep, but they know that it does. And so it's a vicious cycle of blood sugar issues affecting our sleep. And when our sleep is affected, our body, basically the way it reacts, it resembles insulin resistance, which can lead to weight gain and low energy and increased appetite, which then makes our blood sugars irregular, which then makes it harder to sleep. Again, vicious cycle. So Slim helps kind of nip that cycle in the bud and stop it. Blood sugar is also closely related to blood pressure. Again, I read that there were studies done on this that shows the correlation, and a lot of doctors, cardiologists are like insistent upon that. It has a lot to do with the risk of diabetes and that, making us more overweight, less sleep, and affecting our arteries and stuff. But I'm hoping to find a more direct link between blood sugar and blood pressure, because I know there's a direct link. I just want to know how. But anyway, good fun fact there. Our blood sugar also affects our mood. So you guys have experienced this. When your blood sugar is low, most of the time, that's when you experience it affecting your mood, right? Have you heard of the term hangry? My husband tells me I'm hangry all the time. So you get hangry, which can lead to really nervousness, anxiety, and confusion and irritability. But also when your blood sugar is high, I didn't write this down because I was like, oh, I'll totally remember it. But it will lead to, I forget, like high energy, nervousness type stuff. It's like, yeah, when you have a sugar high, think about when your kids have too much candy, right? Yeah, low blood sugar literally makes me crazy, Kayla. I struggled with hypoglycemia before I found Plexus, and so I don't have those issues anymore, thankfully. But also, like I mentioned, blood sugar also affects our hormones in the ways that I mentioned a little bit ago. But also, what's really cool, I'm going to tell you how insulin is related to estrogen and testosterone. So, hey, Mary. Insulin spikes after we have a high sugary meal, obviously because it has to transfer all that blood sugar, make sure it's getting to our cells to use for energy. But when insulin is released, we have low levels of SHBG, which is basically our sex hormone regulator. Again, I should have written down that as well. But basically, it's a binding agent which binds to testosterone and estrogen. But unfortunately, when that's low, because a lot of insulin was released, there's increased testosterone and estrogen in our bloodstream. So because of that happening, the ratio of estrogen to progesterone is, thrown off. And when estrogen and progesterone are thrown off, unfortunately, that balance is what keeps us, especially women, calm and happy. And when that is thrown off, we are often not calm and happy. Hence the 9-month pregnant hormones that we talk about, because there's an increase in the balance is thrown off in those. So you don't want to experience that, friends. So let's keep our blood sugars regulated. But anyway, so it makes it way off. And yeah, so you eat sugar, insulin releases, carries sugar to our cells, converts that energy. If we don't have that, we get irritable, we get crazy, we can't sleep really well. It can affect our blood pressure, all of this jazz. It also obviously affects weight gain. It affects our cravings for the reasons I mentioned below. If you don't have regulated blood sugar, your blood sugar is going to drop really quickly because your liver isn't regulating it correctly. So that's why Slim helps curb cravings, all of that stuff. But another shining star of Slim is the prebiotic aspect. And the prebiotic that is in Slim, I cannot pronounce. I could if I tried. Xyla oligosaccharide. XOS, that's what we're going to call it, okay? So the benefits of prebiotics, when you look at the science behind it, is exactly what the clinical studies of Slim have shown to do. So thank you for laughing at me trying to say that, by the way. So basically, prebiotics are non-digestible fiber that pass through your upper GI tract and make its way to the colon because it's not digested. So that's why it gets all down there. And then there in your colon where it settles, it is actually fermented by the good bacteria there. So essentially it's acting as food for good bacteria. So when you hear of prebiotics being food for good bacteria and increasing that, basically they're known to increase, let's see, what is it? Lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. And it also promotes booty rape. I couldn't have written that down right. Good Lord, that's really funny. But basically, they're short chain fatty acids. It's I'm just gonna say it: butyrate and propionate, and it boosts those, which helps with proper digestion, as well as proper digestion of and regulation of electrolytes. So I was reading this earlier, and my husband was home, and I said, oh, so that's why Slim helps when you have a hangover or you're sick, because it helps regulate the prebiotics in it help regulate your electrolytes. So another cool fun fact for you there. So the clinical studies on Slim, from the prebiotic aspect, it says it increased lactobacillus by 365 times, and bifidobacterium by 295 times, which is just insane. So not only with our gut health system are we putting good bacteria back in our body, but we're literally feeding it with the Slim. Now, it also increased Akkermansia, which is a microbe that positively impacts disrupted metabolism, which is associated with being overweight. So it increased Akkermansia by 250 times. So basically, it's making our metabolism run better. All these different types of metabolism, how we metabolize food, but all the aspects of that: protein, carb, sugars, fat metabolism, and which is associated with issues of being overweight. When your metabolism is low, you store fat. When it's, when it's running right, our bodies will use that for energy, right? Okay. So the fatty acids that I told you about, the prebiotics will actually help increase the production of these short-chain fatty acids, the butyrate by 58%, which regulates metabolism, and the propionate, which is known as an appetite regulator, by 25%. So just fun, cool facts here. Oh, by the way, you can find all this in back office. So the shining stars of Slim, I'm going to end this up real quick. The ingredients are the green coffee bean extract and the chromium. There's also Garcinia cambogia and alpha-lipoic acid. And alpha-lipoic acid, I'll tell you that real quick, basically it's found in every cell in our body, but it's a potent antioxidant and helps recycle other antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, and glutathione. I'm just going to claim that on pregnancy ring. I can't speak today. But anyway, it helps regulate other antioxidants, which is super cool. But the shining stars in regulating blood sugar are the chromium, as well as the green coffee bean extract. So the green coffee bean extract has like the highest levels of chlorogenic acid compared to any other type of coffee beans. And basically, this is a phytochemical that acts as this inhibitor, which basically will decrease the absorptions of sugars into the body and thereby help promote healthy blood glucose regulation. So basically, if you eat a bunch of sugars, your body will not absorb all of it, which means that you won't have a spike and then a drop. So that's why it helps regulate that. And then the chromium, the formula found in Slim is one that was highly recommended in all of my research. It's a mixture of chromium and niacin, which is a vitamin B, and this form of chromium has been found to be more bioavailable, so our bodies just absorb it better. But essentially, it's a trace mineral that a lot of us don't get through our diets alone, but it helps promote healthy glucose metabolism as well, which is what I explained in the beginning of this video. So it helps make sure the liver is doing its job in being a thermostat for all the blood sugars in our body and making sure that glucose transports into our cells. So it also helps insulin do its job too. So all that, and also to say that Slim is sweetened with stevia leaf extract as well as luongo extract. The citric acid comes from non-GMO oranges and lemons, and it's colored with beetroot extract, which I think is super cool. I don't do artificial dyes, artificial sugars, any of that crap. So those are just like the extra little added benefits, but you can find every single ingredient. You can go to Virtual Office and go to resources, I think, or down at the bottom, sharing plexus, and then go to products and find the info sheets, and it has every single ingredient and what it does and how it affects our bodies, which is super cool, and where it's sourced from, and all of the clinical study stuff too. So anyway, I hope this is helpful. I have to run, but I would love to hear your thoughts on Slim in the comments, and I'm excited for the rest of the series.